We recently got a new patch from Rockstar for the defective GTA Trilogy. And of course, it included plenty of fixes, which I covered in one of my previous videos. But even with all the improvements, they still haven't addressed a lot of the lingering issues from earlier updates. For example, the latest patch fixed a bunch of static props, finally restoring movement to things like the Burger Shot rotating burger, the V-Rock Hotel logo, the pump jacks, and even the iconic giant chicken head at Pecker's Feed and Seed. But not everything is back to how it should be. The old windmill in San Andreas, for instance, still doesn't rotate like it did in the classic version. It's strange because they fixed so many similar details, but this one seems to have been overlooked. Is it a game-breaking issue? No, not really. But for a remaster, attention to these small nostalgic details matters. But another thing that stands out, and kind of breaks the timeline of San Andreas, is the Claude speed model in the latest patch. As most of you know, San Andreas is set in 1992, while GTA 3 takes place in 2001. Claude has his cameo in the Farewell My Love mission in San Andreas, and before the patch, he looked the way he should, younger, as he's supposed to be 9 years younger than his appearance in GTA 3. Sure, his model was a bit cartoonish, but at least it matched the timeline. However, with the latest patch, Rockstar replaced him with a model taken directly from GTA 3, complete with his 2001 look. So now we got a Claude from 9 years in the future somehow showing up in 1992. What happened? Did he use a time machine? Next up, let's talk about the mirrors, or rather, the lack of proper reflections in some interiors. Take the tattoo parlor, for example. When the Definitive Edition was first released, the mirrors actually worked well. The entire interior, including the tattoo artist and CJ, was properly reflected, making it look realistic. But with the latest patch, I'm not sure what Rockstar was thinking. The mirrors are now completely blurred, and instead of reflecting reality, they just show some kind of pre-rendered image that doesn't match the room at all. It's a strange downgrade because reflections were already done right in the earlier version of the Definitive Edition, so why break something that wasn't an issue? Mirrors have always been a small but immersive detail in GTA games, and seeing them this way feels like a step back. It makes me wonder if they're testing fixes for performance issues, or just not double-checking their changes. Now, while we're talking about all the things Rockstar hasn't fixed in the trilogy, let me tell you about something that's actually delivering this holiday season. G2A.com Christmas sale. If you're as frustrated as I am about these unfinished remasters, why not take a break and explore some amazing deals on digital entertainment? G2A.com has a wide variety of options, including the latest game releases, software, and gift cards for platforms like Amazon, Netflix, and more. Everything is available at discounted prices with instant delivery, so you can shop comfortably and find great gifts for your friends, teammates, or even that one person in your Discord server who always carries the squad. Their new games releases campaign is live now, offering huge discounts and limited-time daily deals until December 20th. Whether you're looking for something for yourself or crossing items off your holiday gift list, this is the perfect time to grab some incredible deals. Check out the sale using the link in the description or pinned comment, and don't forget to sign up for their newsletter to stay on top of the latest offers. And now, getting back to the topic. One of the issues I also brought up in my previous video is the floating objects scattered across the map. It's particularly bad in the desert areas, where you can find plenty of random rocks suspended mid-air, as well as some vegetation models that are awkwardly hovering instead of being grounded. I get that this isn't something you'd notice during most of the gameplay, but once you do, it's hard to unsee. Then there are the thermal vision goggles. I didn't play around with them much, except for that one mission with Area 69, but I bet you didn't know how realistic they were in the original game. These goggles didn't just help you see better in the dark, they actually showed the real body temperature of anyone around you. And here's the crazy part. If you wore the goggles near a fresh body, you could watch the temperature drop in real time. It started out red, indicating the heat from the body, and slowly faded to normal color as the temperature dropped. After finding out about this years after playing the game, I thought about making an entire video about insane details in San Andreas you probably didn't know about. Let me know if that's something you'd want to see. But getting back to the topic, the thermal goggles in the Definitive Edition don't work the same way. Sure, the colors look different, but that's not the main issue. The problem is that they don't function like they should. The body temperature no longer drops when an NPC dies. It's just one of those details that shows how much was overlooked in this remaster. And there's more. The vehicle headlights still aren't working as they should. In the original game, when you entered a tunnel, your vehicle's headlights would automatically turn on, simulating the player flipping them on. The same thing happened for NPCs. Their headlights would turn on when entering a tunnel and then turn off afterward. But in the Definitive Edition, this feature is broken. As you approach a tunnel, you'll notice that NPCs don't turn on their headlights at all. But once you drive into to it, CJ's car headlights will turn on, and suddenly, every car around you will do the same. The weirdest part is that when you're inside the tunnel with your headlights on, even vehicles that aren't in the tunnel keep their headlights on too. It's a strange glitch that breaks the consistency of how the lighting system is supposed to work. The next issue is with the garbage bins. In some areas, you'll notice the bins are often littered with cups, bottles, and other random trash, which is a nice detail at first glance. But when you hit one with a car, you'll quickly notice that all the trash has been made into a single object. Instead of scattering or reacting naturally, the cups and other items just float statically with the bin as it moves. And there's more. For example, the water from fire hydrants is another issue. After crashing into a hydrant, the water sprays out as expected, but you'll notice it bizarrely goes straight through vehicles. It's another detail that feels rushed and unpolished, and while it's not game-breaking, it's one of those things that breaks the immersion when you spot it. Another issue is with flying in general, not just the Hydra. Whether it's helicopters, planes, or the jetpack, the controls feel significantly worse than in the original game. For the jetpack specifically, if you try to turn it to the side, it automatically corrects and forces you forward, making it frustratingly difficult to take proper turns. And the worst part? Unlike the original, you can now dismount the jetpack while mid-air, so one accidental misclick and CJ is plummeting to his death. Next up on the list of random stupid bugs is what happens when you get on a vortex. For some reason, your player icon completely disappears from the minimap radar. It's not the most annoying issue out there, but it's definitely something that shouldn't be happening and needs to be fixed. The list doesn't end there though, especially when it comes to vehicles. Take the speeder motorboat for example, its deck is flooded with water. It seems like a similar glitch to the fire hydrant water passing through cars. The collision models for vehicles clearly need more attention to fix these issues. And speaking of collisions, another problem is that vehicles no longer take damage when punched. In the original, giving a car a good punch would leave a noticeable dent, but in the Definitive Edition, there's no reaction at all. One of the most annoying issues with the Definitive Edition when it first launched was the rain going through roofs, so you'd see raindrops falling inside interiors. Thankfully, most of these problems have been fixed in the latest patches, but not all of them. For example, you can still see raindrops falling inside the Pay and Spray interior, which shouldn't be happening. Besides that, there are still some misaligned objects around the map. A good example is the train bridge near San Fierro, where some of the elements don't line up properly. Also, a pretty popular topic recently has been the power lines in GTA games. Recently, Annie Austin posted 2 videos analyzing the power lines in GTA 4 and 5, checking if they're actually connected to anything. And honestly, I think he'd be horrified to see what's happening in San Andreas Definitive Edition, because here, some of the power lines aren't connected to anything. They're just hanging there in midair, attached to absolutely nothing. It feels incredibly lazy. And then we have the food stalls, or rather, the lack of them. The marker is there, and there's a vendor standing around, but the actual food stall itself is completely missing. Well, it's not entirely gone. You can climb on something invisible where the stall should be, but visually, it's like it doesn't exist. Of course, it wouldn't be a Rockstar update without making life harder for modders. The latest patch has caused most mods, especially those that replace car models, to completely stop working. The game will crash as soon as you try to launch it with these mods installed, though from what I've seen, texture replacements still seem to work fine, but it's frustrating that they didn't consider the modding community when rolling out this update. Modders are a big part of what keeps these games alive, and Rockstar really should have made the game compatible with existing mods instead of breaking them. It's another example of them not fully thinking things through. So, was the latest Definitive Edition patch good? I'd say yes. It did fix a lot of issues, and we finally got that lovely classic lighting back, which is a big win. But, do these games still need a lot of work? Absolutely. The truth is, as much as I want to believe Rockstar will keep improving the trilogy, I don't think they have much incentive to continue working on it. Rockstar is one of those rare developers that somehow still maintain a good reputation, despite being very business-first in their approach. They're not exactly known for long-term support on their games unless there's money to be made, and let's face it, in Rockstar's eyes, the trilogy has likely reached the end of its release cycle. With the games now 3 years old and the mobile versions finally launched, it seems like all the revenue they could make from these remasters has already been collected. Adding to that, the latest patch has given the trilogy a reputation of being fixed, which could send the message to Rockstar that it's now good enough to leave as is. That said, according to Rockstar support, another patch is being worked on. It could just be empty promises to keep players optimistic, but it at least hints at the possibility of one more update. Do I personally believe that everything I've mentioned in this video and all the other small issues players have likely found will be fixed? Honestly, no. But then again, Nobody expected the latest update to happen, especially after such a long silence. There was no clear incentive for Rockstar to bring these changes to the console and PC versions, considering they could have done it long ago and didn't. So maybe they'll surprise us again with another patch soon, or we might be waiting another 3 years for it. Either way, the trilogy still has a lot of unrealized potential, but whether Rockstar cares enough to keep improving it is anyone's guess.